Hey there, good people. Patricia here. And today I want to talk about doing a mid year review of my own goals and what I learned with a 3 a.m. review. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But as we get started here, please remember to hit the thumbs up and the like button because that helps to push this out to more people who might want to hear a little bit about these escapades and these experiences that we're sharing here today. Okay, so here's the thing. It's mid-year. I always do a mid-year review. I try to do it quarterly and then for sure kind of like really take a deep dive in the summer to say, okay, where am I really? What am I doing? And I hadn't done that yet. And I was like, yeah, I need to. And I was just stalling. I mean, there's lots going on. My college kids are home, lots of movement. So it's kind of like, and it just didn't feel like, quote, the right time because there's just so much going on. And so I found myself during one of my lovely little insomnia moments, pulling out my goals documents and stuff. And I did say documents because for me, it's always something. Um, in the middle of the night, it really was 3 a.m. I'm not just saying that for the clicks. It really was a 3 a.m. review because I was wide awake. I think I may have fallen asleep earlier in the day, I think, or something that added to this. And so there I was, digging up my stuff. It had been sitting there. This is my little document that I had done back in July of 2025. And I didn't even remember that it literally was exactly 1 year ago that I had written all of these things down, kind of updated them at the end of that year, but then really hadn't gone back to look in depth on where I was. And it mattered, and maybe perhaps one of the reasons why I was stalling is because I was feeling like I was kind of behind with some things. Things weren't as moving, not I won't say as quickly, but as consistently, I guess I will say, as I wanted. And so it's just kind of been an up and down because, this year's just been crazy, anyways, in the world, much less in personal and business things like that, because everything's just a little off. And that's putting it politely. So that said, I was, ready to be like, okay, we need to just really dig in and like figure out what else needs to be done, which is old perfectionist Patricia ways. I own that. And I also own that I've come a long way from that simply because I had to work on my nervous system regulation to deal with some other stress related stuff down through the years that had affected my health. So, but here's the thing, perfectionism pops its ugly little head up at inopportune times. When you're doing really well, it'll pop up. And when you're a little down, it'll pop up. So it's kind of no respect of moods, no respect of moods, no respect of person. It'll show up. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So that said, there I was pulling out my little uh, 5 year, this was my 5 year goals. And I wrote down big picture things. And then what I do, because I am that person. So literally, if you ever work with me, this is what you get. Then this was my end of the year um, uh, for last year, like I said, that some things that I wanted to do or work on. They were kind of big picture projects that I wanted to work on. And then here is there was my 2026 uh, things to work on. And so I do that, like big picture, and then like narrow down and narrow down. And I do this. I want to say, why aren't you typing this out? I am absolutely a tactile person, and I do so much better when I physically write out or draw out things. Sometimes I would transfer this, let's say, to my business personal journal that has goals and projects in it, and so but it's still handwritten. Um, Only gets to like being typed out if there are some really detailed things that I want to accomplish and I want to be able to transfer that back and forth. And even then, that might literally be in the notes on my phone. That's just how I operate. You don't have to operate that way, but I don't connect well with typewritten quote documents or things when it comes to coming back and getting in the flow of what it is I really want to do. I really get stuck trying to type that stuff out. So I don't try to force people to do that. I use I've created like worksheets that have prompts and things like that that again get people to either handwrite it out or if they want to type it out they can, but I give that option to folks when I work with them because I know how I am. And I learned a lot from my own coaches over the years. So that said, there I am with all of my little layers of things. And when I started looking at it, I was like, wait, now was I a little off on the end of 2025? Yeah, there was a lot going on because there always is, right? But there was also the buildup. And I realized that there really was things that I was still laying the groundwork for that I did. It didn't happen as quickly as I might have wanted because, quite frankly, I was still trying to get clear on some things. In particular, let's say what I was going to do with um, my podcast, live video show, and what was going to happen next. And I talk about that in a different video where I talk about why I took off a year uh, from doing uh, the live show, the live podcast, and what that looks like now. But so here I was. That was a thing that was a really big one. It really just sat there on me. And I look back now, I had this really insane goal. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have set insane goals. It just, when I look back now, it really was unrealistic in terms of it was very perfectionist driven. It's like, oh well, if I'm going to do this, then I have to do it this way and do and I had it all laid out. And then I've done difficult things through the holiday season before, challenging projects. It's literally one of the first things I ever did is I wrote my first course over Thanksgiving holiday while at my sister's house, in between the family gatherings. It makes me laugh when I think about it, but I did do it. And I've moved forward, and there's a whole lot more that I have learned, which is as my lovely little Rules and Rebellion coaches say, draft mode. And everything doesn't have to be done right then. Just get it out and then work on it from there. We'll talk some more about that as well. And so that's what made that whole thing not reasonable because it was really strict. It was a lot of work and there just wasn't going to be the capacity to make that happen. And I realized that after the fact, and I had to give myself a break and still work through because honestly, I still hadn't really worked through what it is I wanted to do or how I wanted to do it. And so as we fast forward into the beginning of the year, that's when I discovered Glow Autonmo and the challenge she had done or that she was in the midst of with her YouTube videos. I was like, I could do that. That's how I can like revive things and work through in real time what is the next thing that I want to do and how I want to do it with this. So that's how I shifted, still honoring the goal that I had, but it just didn't look like what I had laid out and scripted for it to happen. So that's one of those realizations, right? Because sometimes you lay out a goal and then you put these really crazy boundaries, around it, or script out how it should happen when the how generally or oftentimes may need to be more fluid. And it doesn't mean the goal isn't still valid. The goal is absolutely still valid. Just the how you're going to accomplish it or how you're going to get there may look totally different, and you have to be open to that. So that was definitely one of my lessons through that time period. And so then as I get to what I laid out for the 2026 year, I'm looking at it and I was like, well, we're halfway through and I have done or in the process of doing several of these things on this list. And I was like, oh, because I honestly did not realize it. And that's because my approach to things has shifted greatly because I'm trying to do some things with a much longer return ROI. Like I'm doing some work that I know it's not going to have quote instant gratification or an instant thing. And that is contrary to literally all of the work I've ever done, not just as a coach or an executive advisor, but when I worked as a lobbyist. I mean, like, hello, everything is about what happens right now and what can we get done. And so that in and of itself is a whole process, and sticking with it and building up the commitment and the consistency to do that really and truly has taken up so much of this time and space that I just didn't recognize it as such. It's not because I'm not doing the work or doing things to get to the next level. It just doesn't look like how I would have done it in the past. And guess what? That's okay. And sometimes we will lock ourselves into something and beat ourselves up because it's like, oh, well, this is not happening, quote, fast enough or in the way that I thought it would from a different way. But it still doesn't mean it's not moving, right? Things can still be moving forward. You can still be honoring your commitment to yourself, even if it doesn't look like how you originally thought. And I know that sounds like, well, didn't she just say that? I did. And the repetition is worth it because maybe in a different way or format, it hits someone differently. Because it's a continual thing. It's a journey. It's one of the things I always talk about, things being a journey, and this is definitely it. So as I'm going through my list, I'm like, I've definitely been focusing on revamping my podcast, my video time, all of that. That has consumed a lot of time this year as I build things out and realizing that I'm literally doing what I said I want to do. I did the 100 videos, and then I've decided, okay, the daily ones are not for me. I think I'm going to pull it back to 3 or 4 per week, which is still a lot for most people. It's not for me because in my old days, I was doing was it 2 per week when I was doing my Coffee Time Career Chat. You can check out that video library anytime. But when I was doing that, which meant eight per month at a minimum. That does not include any of the special collab conversations that I would do every couple of months, maybe every quarter or so, or popping in to do some more spontaneous work. So I was always doing video work and conversations in some way. So this is pretty much on task with the level of where I was. It's just the form and the approach is different. So kudos to me for that. Remember, you got to celebrate yourself. And I needed to celebrate myself for recognizing that. Then the other thing is, I wanted to get to the point where I had enough content so that I could then start um, uh, repurposing it deliberately into the next thing because I really had been doing that in a flip way. It was, if I look back now, I'm like, oh man, I was creating a lot of work for myself because instead of repurposing the actual videos that I was doing, I was taking my notes from it and creating other little mini videos. And I look back now, I'm like, that was a lot of work. But I did those little coffee time career tips or 2 minute career tips, things like that. Like I was recreating those. there came a time when I started doing a little bit of repurposing with them, but I wasn't doing it consistently. And so that's one of the things I wanted to take with this approach, to do the longer form content and then deliberately repurpose and let it lead from that, as opposed to recreating the wheel, because I recognize now that was absolutely what I was doing, and there's no need to do that. There's no need to recreate the wheel. Um, so I realized that goal, which is a down level one, I'm absolutely, because I'm doing that work now. I'm in the middle of it while still creating new video, and then also launching to where I can create long form content in the form of writing using the same things. So that was something I was not doing. Like, I was starting something from fresh here and starting something fresh from here. And I was like, that's probably what led to the burnout. Hello? So consolidating that work and those efforts has been a journey, because it is literally turning the boat from old practices that I'd been doing for years to something new, something different. I won't say new, but different, with similar uh, goals, uh, and outcomes, but absolutely affecting it, because it's protecting my energy, which is really important to me, and opening up my capacity to do some other things. And how does that feed into all my coaching work? Well, because it also allows me to be able to utilize that content more directly for that, as far as marketing or whatever it might be, and also to uh, dig a little deeper on how I'm approaching my consulting and my coaching work, right? So it all feeds into itself. And here's the next big point, which is, as long as it makes sense to you, it doesn't have to make sense to everybody else. I think I said this in one of my other videos. We'll see if I'll make sure I connect it. Where I was talking about your career choices, your career goals, or your changes. Like, it's not necessarily going to make sense to the people around you, and that's okay. It doesn't have to. It has to make sense to you. And for me, that has been a lot of this. And I talk it through with a few key people who are accountability partners, sounding boards, and where we check in on each other, but not a whole lot of people, because I understand fully that to some folks it doesn't look like anything. It doesn't look like I'm doing anything. It doesn't look like I'm getting anything accomplished. When in reality, I know that I am, and I'm doing things that other people don't even have the capacity or the wherewithal to stick with, right? That commitment and that consistency to pursue a goal in a certain way, even when it looks like nothing's happening, like, that takes a lot, y'all. That wears on you physically, mentally, emotionally. And I'm going to say, do not stop. Do not let others' lack of understanding influence the work that you are doing. I'm going to encourage you to continue to do it. And if you need support in that, reach out. Okay. So some of the other things, just to give you some examples that were on my list, were, some stuff about launching corporate training in a different way, which is something that I've been working on. I picked up a short course from someone I really respect, and so I've been really working through it. That's one of the things that was taking a little bit longer, because I was trying to do too many things at once. So this is the time for me to, like, dive in. So I've been doing that. Picked up another short one that helps me with focusing how I'm going to approach my marketing as far as it comes on LinkedIn and long form, using that long form content piece. So all of these pieces, right? They're pieces to the puzzle, and I have actually been working on them. A couple of trips that I wanted to do. One in particular that's laid out here for later in the year. I had written it on here, did not know how it was going to happen. And it's combined with a goal from last year, which is I wanted to take a train ride, which I didn't accomplish last year, but it's getting accomplished this year. So I'm getting a 2 for 1 this year. I'm super excited about that. There'll be, of course, tons of content about that later on when I get to go visit the Obama Library in Chicago. So excited about that. That is absolutely in the works. And then, a weekend girls trip and getting to go to my daughter's graduation from grad school. So I'm looking at these things and I'm like, so yeah, you're doing what's in this little circle right here, like, give yourself a break. Now, there are a couple of things I look on there and I realize I'm like, okay, you know what? I've changed my mind. Like, those are not going to happen this year. One of the big international travel. That's because I'm just not there right now. There's too much craziness going on in the world, so I will move that one to some other time. I don't know what. I haven't decided yet. Another one of my larger group projects that I still need to figure out what it is I want it to be and how I want to approach it. So I've taken it off for accomplishing this year. It'll just get pushed out to maybe next year. I don't know. We'll see. But it's not that I'm removing it completely. I'm removing it from this year because I realize we're halfway through. I've not started really dug deep on that. And I don't see myself doing that. So that's, was it point number 3 or 4? Be honest with yourself about what it is you're actually going to do. Like, do not make yourself do something just because you're like, oh, well, that's on the list, so I got to go. If it takes you off task from something you're already going deep on and that you're doing the work on, give yourself a break and just move it. It's your list. Just move it off the list, move it down the list, move it to another year, whatever you got to do, but give yourself the space that you need to accomplish the work you're already doing. And if that means taking off something that you didn't realize you weren't going to have the capacity to to actually commit to, it's okay. There's no shame in that, and there's there's no shame in that. It's reality and it's life. And I realize I'm like, yeah, I got a lot more to do as far as thinking through how I want that project to look and how I want to launch it. So I need to pull back on that. It's not going to get done this year. Doesn't mean I'm not going to work on it. I'm probably going to create some space and time later in the year to work on it once I decide when I want it to actually move forward, right? So that I can work my way backwards just like I have before. Um, and there are a couple of things still pending, like getting some extra help with some projects. So that's still on here. I've started that process. I haven't quite finished it because, it's the building blocks. Like, you got to do one thing before you can get to that. So that's on the list. And one or two things I've talked about, one thing that I've added, but another one, which is my long form writing, something that my writing that I've been putting off, and some of the work that I want to do. And now I realize that some of that can be done in a different way, and it still fits in with what I'm putting together with the puzzle piece. So I'm excited about that as well. There we are. And so as I move forward and looking into next year and the year after that, there are certain things that I still want to do. And I am looking forward to doing them. And as I get closer, probably towards the end of this year, I will take another look and see where I am with the things that I've been wanting to work on this year. I will see what carries over, or what I've really built the commitment so that it just continues um, naturally. And for the next year, what is it that I'm looking to do? Because the thought process for that starts now. So there's always overlap, right? And so the next thing I'm going to tell and remind you is don't get overwhelmed by the overlap. Do not get overwhelmed by the overlap. It's natural. It's just a matter of you actively acknowledging it. A lot of times we get overwhelmed by it when we pretend there's no overlap. And then we're like, oh my gosh, this all of these things have to happen. Well, guess what, dear? All of that stuff has always needed to happen. It's just a matter of you acknowledging it. And when you acknowledge it, then you get to make informed decisions about what it looks like or how you're going to approach it, what you're going to remove, what you're going to add, all of that. So that's what I want to remind you is don't get overwhelmed by the overlap. Get excited about some of those things and acknowledging like, well, some of that may happen, some of it may not, but we're going to work it in here and see where things head to next. And I'm just a huge advocate for being more fluid in your thinking, especially in these days where there's just literally so much stuff happening out in the world that it adds to the overwhelm, it adds to the confusion, it adds to the lack of clarity. And so I'm saying, like, have an empowered moment and take your space back, take your capacity back, take your mental capacity, your emotional capacity, all of it, take it back. And if you have to cocoon a little bit, do it and get your focus on. And it doesn't have to look like what others want it to look like or expect it to look like because it's you. It doesn't have to. I think I've talked about that some other times and places. Happy to redirect you to what those conversations are because it's not always easy. It's definitely challenging, and though that opposition will come from unexpected places, y'all. Just if you haven't experienced it yet, here's your warning. It will come from those who looked like they were supportive before, but now they don't understand, so they're not necessarily so supportive, have lived it in real time. Okay? And again, stick to your guns, do the work, stay focused, honor your commitment to yourself, and make it happen because you may be reviewing your goals or may need to. I'm not necessarily saying you should do it at 3 o'clock in the morning, but when you do it, give yourself the time to be honest about what it is you're looking at, how you want to approach it, what needs to come and go, and then make your plans, adjust them for how you move forward for the remainder of the year. And I am excited to hear from some of y'all about what that looks like. Now, if you're someone you're like, I haven't done that, I don't know how to do that, that's a different conversation. I get it. DM me on any of my platforms. You know, we can get back and forth and have a little conversation about what that might look like for you and what it might look like for you to put some things in place and identify if you need support to make that happen, right? Because that's what VIP days and strategy power hours are for. Those are ongoing, okay? All right, that's enough of that for today. I want to encourage you to be empowered. Remember to celebrate you and all your glory, all the things that are coming and going in your life. Make sure you take that time to recognize who you are, what you are accomplishing right now, and where you're headed. All right. Have a fantastic day, week, whenever you're listening, and we will catch you in the next video.